first thing I would like to do is to orient you to what you have in front of you. The first thing you have is the schedule, so that you will know in hard copy, you will know what school will be presenting next after you see a particular school. So that's your first item. Then you have a single page copy of last year's test scores for our elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, so that you could be able to look at that as they talk about this year's scores. And then the large document that you have is a copy of each school's presentation that they will bring to you tonight. Yours is in color, mine and Mr. Brown's are in black and white because we were conserving there. So unless you have further questions, I would like for you to remember that on a hard copy in front of you, you have a district and 2015 and 2016. It's a black and white copy. And you have a 2015 line on the left hand and a 2016 line on the right hand. And at the bottom, you see my handwriting where it says accountability, and there's a strike through that. So that's what I want you to know that is gone. You will never see that again. The accountability tab has been taken off the school report card. So that information there, that's the last time that you will see this, because we're moving into a completely new system from this point on. At our next meeting, we will go into that. All of the scores that you will see tonight, including those on the single hard copies, are assessment scores only. So it's not an accountability score, it's an assessment score. The scores from the district that you received earlier this week from Mr. Brown, they have only the proficient and distinguished students together. That's the score that you have, because that's where we need to be. We only put the proficient and distinguished scores combined on those. So on this from this point on, we will only look at assessment scores, and that's the only tab that you will see on the school report card. So the schools are going to present their information to you as they wanted to. I don't want to tell them how to do that. We gave them a frame. They looked at what happened last year when they presented, or their predecessor presented. They're going to tell you the scores in each content area, and then they're going to tell you the why they did well, why maybe they didn't do so well, or any other information that they wish to share. And then they're on to the next steps, or how are they going to achieve proficiency with all students in their building. Some schools have chosen to use the apprentice score with their data. So if you see something that I gave you and there is a point or two difference in that particular thing, that school chose to use apprentice. I only gave you proficient and distinguished. So that would be the discrepancy if you see anything like that. Other than that, next month we will dive into the new accountability system, and the district will share our data with you as well as our preschool and the academy at Horizons, because we're all district programs. So we will present together at December meeting. So do you have any further questions until we start with our schools?
I would just like to remind the board and everybody else is that this is a different system than what you've been used to in the past. And it's very, I don't want to say not impossible, but almost very difficult to compare last year's scores with the information that you're getting this year, because it's not the same test, it's not the same type of data, and so you have to be very careful in doing that. Remember, this is last year and this year are baseline scores and on the new system, and so we don't want to compare. It's not apples and apples, it's apples and oranges, so just remember that. Now, there is some similarities, and I'm sure when the principals do their report to you all, they will point out some of the similarities and some things that they feel good about and some areas they want to do. And also remember that we have new principals in most of our buildings have new principals, and just remember where they were last year and where we are this year. So with that, Ms. Brown,
Bloomfield, you're up.
Good evening. How are you all? Good. I'm Stephanie Smith, and I'm the principal at Bloomfield Elementary School, so I am looking forward to sharing our data and things with you. The first information that I'd like to share with you is our 2016 KPREP reading results compared to where we are this year. As you can see, our percent novice, we went from 17.2, and this year we dropped that to 13.8. Also, if you take a look at our percent proficient distinguished, last year we were 57.6, and this year's PD score is 59.7. So we increased our P&D scores as well as reduced novice in reading. The next set of information is just the trends from 2012 to 2017, showing you that we have a trend that we're reducing novice across reading, and we're definitely increasing proficient and distinguished scores. Our P&D scores were really what helped us this year as far as improvements in our scores for reading. Our distinguished is a little bit lower than what we would have liked, and I will go into further detail as to how we're going about correcting that for this year. This is also just another way to look at the data as far as the numbers and things and showing the trends from novice, apprentice, proficient, distinguished from 2012 to this year. As we look at the KPREP math scores, our math scores aren't exactly where I'd like for them to be. We did reduce our novice from 19.9 to 9.4, so I was very pleased with the amount of novice reduction that we had. As far as our P&D scores, we were 56.3, and then this year we dropped to 55.3. And as you can see, we also had a decline in our distinguished scores. And that is something that we've already started to work on this year as far as our RTI and how we're proceeding forward in order to make sure that that doesn't happen for this coming year. And here again, you can see the math trends that we have as to, we have increased our apprentice scores and our proficient scores. We're working to improve our distinguished scores for this coming year. And here's the same data, just in number form this time. One of the things that I wanted to work on this year when I took over last year was the writing scores. We had a severe issue with writing for 3 years in a row. We had no distinguished writers, and that was my goal this year, was to at least have 1 or 2 distinguished writers. So we worked very hard this year to make sure that we did a school-wide approach to writing this year, working on on-demand writing and not so much the focus on Lucy Calkins, but being able to add in school-wide things with Able and Atherton, as well as 3-point paragraph writing, so that we carried on throughout all of the grade levels. And this year, in hopes of improving that score, again, we've been focusing on vocabulary and writing. So as you can see up here, novice, we were at 13%. We dropped back to 7%, which was amazing for us. We also increased our P&D scores from 33.3 to 58.1. So the research study that I was doing along with my college work was also showing that we were making improvements when we were doing our writing, kind of doing like KPREP writing assessments throughout the year just to see checkpoints where we were at and how we could redefine and make that stronger for our school. And here again, here are the trends that we have, definitely improved, proficient, distinguished. And here are the numbers for that. This is just a replica of what we have for our fall map percentage of proficient, distinguished, and how we're moving forward with that. So those are our current scores as of right now in reading and math. Some of the ways in which we're planning to move forward and still increase the proficient, distinguished numbers that we have. We use our data walls in our PLC room, and our focus is on our RTI, not on KPREP. We want to make sure the things that we're doing as far as stamina, our interventions, and our enrichment are our focal point of what we're doing at our school. We also have set goals to reduce the number of students below the 33rd percentile and making sure that that's reduced to 15% in each grade level. Data dashboard, we use that during our PLC time and even during staff meetings. We refer to that quite often to see where the trends are with certain students and how we can formulate certain pathways for them as far as the instruction that we provide. Data walls in the classroom, I'm going to show you a picture of some of those data walls. That to me is very important in our classrooms because students need to know where they're at and where they need to be and what we're working towards as far as goals. Also, we are doing student data folders. This is where students are setting goals for themselves, and they're also using that in their student-led conferences with parents and with teachers. It has been one of those things where, this past year, I could go in at any point and ask a student, may I see your data folder, and have the student talk to me about where they're at, what goals they're making, and how are we going to improve. Here's a look at some of the data walls that we have. Some of those are comparing MAP scores, some of those are, benchmark assessments that we have. And so that's been a very awesome visual for anybody that walks into our room, and students know where they're at and what they need to do in order to improve. Our Patriot Time, basically making sure that we have a deliberate schedule that pulls all of our staff to be able to work with our primary and our intermediate students. We have 45 minutes that is our intervention time for our intermediate and 30 minutes for our primary students. Our Tier 3 small group instruction, for us, reading is king. But those students that would qualify for both reading or math, they get scheduled at a separate time so that they're still getting those two interventions. The data determines our flexible grouping. So whatever the students need, that's what we're providing for them. And our groups are sorted by the teachers, and our focus on growth is within interventions, our stamina groups, and with our enrichment groups. Our PLC focus is on assessment, so we have been doing live scores with feedback that feeds forward. We will be doing our live score here just in a couple of weeks, where everyone participates in that. So that is giving feedback to the students at that time as to how can we improve this. Our KPREP-like assessments in the classroom, making sure that questioning is of higher rigor. The work is what they would see on KPREP, so that we don't have students that go into shock when we come to KPREP and have that stress or anxiety. So really kind of getting students prepared for that. Our Patriot proficiency practices happen 3 times a year. Those are kind of like our KPREP assessments as well. It's just another way for us to gauge where our students are at and for us to focus on the groups and interventions and things that we need to provide for them. Data analysis and next instruction steps. We meet during our PLC time to really review over what does each student in that category need. What can we do to drive the instruction in the classroom? What kind of things can we bring about for our students so that we can increase P&D and drop our novice? And respect for the craft and innovation of teaching. What can teachers bring to the classroom that's going to improve the instruction that we have? What can we do to better focus students so that they are able to be 21st century learners, and what are we going to be able to adapt for them so that when they go to middle school, that they're high on the list of things that I've been able to do that, I can show you how to do that. Our system for interventions, I share with you the RTI plan that we use, and that is for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. We have linked graphs and minutes to the meetings. I meet with Tier 3 groups every week on Mondays, where we talk about what is taking place with some of these students. Are we seeing improvements? What do we need to do further? And we also have Tier 2 meetings where teachers, everybody is involved in this. So everyone knows as far as what students need help and where we're headed with that. Monthly meetings to discuss student progress, and then listed some interventions for progress monitoring that we're using currently in the classrooms. Co-teaching is very important to our structure. We focus on parallel teaching and station teaching within the classroom. PLC together, we have common planning. Staff meetings with vertical planning. This year, one of the things that I saw as far as how we had to restructure our scheduling for teachers in different rooms and different things, I set aside one staff meeting a month so that teachers are able to really plan for those project-based learning, the LDC, MDCs, so that we're really giving teachers the consistency and the time available to be able to really structure for these classroom needs instead of having to be after school and, do these at home or, do it on a Google Sheet. They're actually able to all confer at that point in time where we're integrating, the special area classrooms as well. So we're able to integrate, the science and social studies with art, or we're able to do that with our PE or health. So that way everybody has been able to collaborate. Let's see here. Student support days, I know that just had got taken off, but we use those days as far as being able to really meet and kind of confer with teachers as to, okay, how is the student doing in the classroom? What do we need to do as far as interventions? What kind of things do we need to have in place for them? And then monitoring student data with the principal, me being in there during our PLC time, I feel has been very important for me, just because I know what's going on in the building and I know how we're doing certain things in our classrooms and what steps we're moving forward and what we see in the future going into next year. One of the things that I really wanted to put in place was a culture for our students. What things are we putting in place for them? So we've created Bloomfield Buddies, which is a mentoring program with our 3 through 5th grade boys. They mentor students that are in K2 that may have some struggles or some behavioral issues. And that is a monitored program that we do every Monday with them, so they get to be able to experience that and, learn leadership skills as well. Dreambox Challenge, that's one of the things that, Dreambox is a district-wide initiative that was taking place, so we're trying to take that to a second level and really make sure that students are utilizing that and that we're getting the best out of that we can. And the same with Lexi and Reading Plus. 5th graders have mentors, which are all staff members. So I check in, I've got my own mentees that I check in with on a weekly basis to see where are we at. We talk about grades, we talk about our homework, we talk about anything that they would like to discuss. So basically, everybody in our building facilitates something or someone in a way that is showing caring, that we're all on the same team, that we're working towards a common goal. We also have a safety patrol. That was a leadership thing that I want to put into place this year, where we've reached out to just 5th grade students. I couldn't imagine the amount if I were to have opened it up to 4th grade, but they had to actually apply. We were going to do interviews for that, but there was such a high amount of people that had done applications. I would have been doing them for days and days and days with the interviews, but we went through the application process. We looked over grades. I did speak with a couple of the students as far as what do you think you could bring to the table as far as being on the safety patrol. So they really help guide parents in the hallways. They help with the little kids. There's a morning patrol and an afternoon patrol that we have. So that's something that the kids really take into heart and something that they've really put in place. And then quarterly themed reward events. We haven't had our first one yet, but these are all things that the students are able to vote on and decide how they want to go about earning their rewards. And so that's something that is student driven. And I have this quote up here: you never fail until you stop trying. And that's how I feel our school always is working. We're moving forward each and every day. The things that we have put in place, we're always looking to find ways to better ourselves. And if we stop, that's not an option for us. So to keep moving forward and to keep our scores going in the right direction, that's where we're headed. Any questions?
And I don't know if my question is more, it's not specifically toward you or any of this data, it may be more towards every administrator or also towards Mr. Brown. I've heard a lot of what it is that you're doing, your staff is doing, what the students are doing to address everybody being on the same page. I've asked this in past years, really haven't got a lot of feedback on it, but we do things financially as a school board. We've made some investments just this past fall with the nurses at every school to try and address that health issue need that a lot of our students have. I guess and it may be kind of rhetoric, maybe kind of a think on question, but what are some of the things that as a board that we can be doing to remove some of the barriers? Granted, we could always say more money, but at some point we've got to say, well, we can't put any more money into that, but are there some things that we can be doing, whether it's through policies, whether it's through just actions of our own, that we can do to help support these goals that you've got and the things you're doing? So, and again, I don't want to put you on the spot right now, so please think about if you need to, or if there's something already popping in your mind, because I saw you getting ready to say something, because I think it is, it's our job as board members to remove the barriers where we need to remove them. Sometimes it's financial barriers, sometimes it's other barriers. And so I'm just asking, what are things that we need to continue to do to help at the school building level to push that forward for everybody?
I think as a district, for us all to improve, there really needs to be more visibility in the schools and really talking with principals and talking with students and parents and finding out what is the need that each of us have. My need is different from everybody else in this room. And I try not to ask for things unless I feel like I really need it, because I'm sure there's another school that probably could use more than me. I have a wonderful staff, things that I have going on at our school here. We all coincide, we all do what we need to do in order to better our students. One of the things in my opinion, would be just to be visible, come out, see us, ask us how things are going, see what we need at the school. Really to have, your input and for you to understand kind of where we're coming from, to see kind of how things are operating. That really needs to be there, because I feel as a district, in order to move forward and to grow, we have to all work together. At the school level, we're working together, but really as a district and a board and things, I feel like, the more visible that you all are, the more that even parents and families see that, okay, they're here for the right reasons. We're here to make a change for Nelson County, to do the best that we can. So, just in my perspective, in my opinion, I feel that that's something that, would be much appreciated. And, I can't speak for the others, but I'm sure that, really being able to talk with you all and kind of see what our individual needs are and where we see the district going. I mean, I realize, the pot of money is not endless and we can't just have everything we want. But as far as having goals and things that we're working to improve on, those are things that definitely I feel as though that all of us would really like to be on board with, so that we can say, in the coming years, if this happens, we'd really like to have this, in advance, and not have to come, short notice and say, hey, I've got all these extra students, can I get an extra teacher? And I realize that that's not how things operate, but to really kind of see further down the road, what is the long-term goal, what does the board see as, the improvements to be made in the schools.
Appreciate that. And that doesn't necessarily mean everybody has to give an answer tonight, okay? But I just, yeah. So you gave the answer for everybody else can go. Yeah, but I do appreciate that, because again, that is one of the things, like I said, we appropriate money, we set policies, we try and help set some of the vision. We've got, superintendents that, we try and hold accountable for things. But also, at times, there are things that maybe we can do that we're not quite seeing, that can end up removing some of those barriers. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I'm impressed by some things, and I'm going to reserve the right to make comments after everybody's finished.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I'm disappointed is writing, and it's tough, I know that. But I think as a whole, the state writing has gone by the wayside. To me, it looks like cursive writing. That's out the door too. But kids need to learn to write. And we were always taught you write like you speak. And personally, I don't want to read some of the stuff that these kids say because it's tough. And I know we're in a battle. All schools are. We're in a battle because we're expected to teach them, care for them, health-wise, you name it, and that's what schools are supposed to do now. So I appreciate everything that you do. I really do. I appreciate what everybody does. It's hard work, and I'm glad to see that you've taken some steps, major steps, to bring us along. I appreciate it. You're welcome. Thank you.
Anything else? All right.
Ms. Bree, before we go on to the next thing, I just want to ask, the administrators that are still left, take a look around at the other administrators in this room if you would. Just take a moment and look at who all else you've got on your team. I think possibly this is one of the strongest building level administrative teams in the 9 years that I've been on the board that we've had.
Damon, I'll say, I've been doing this for 43 years, and we have as good, and
Yeah.
especially as good a young bunch of building level administrators in this county. And, you know, with all the changes and turmoil you came up and you got to this point with these people, I think is a testament of this district's resiliency and for these people, and I congratulate them.
I mean, you look, and again, you look around the room and you see some folks that maybe were a peer administrator the year before, or maybe were a classroom or an instructional coach, educator before, and, you know, now you're sitting as that administrator in the building. I mean, the resources that are among this team, the ability to rely upon each other, and I've always thought the hardest thing for any human, forget it being a teacher, any human to do is to say, I don't really know, can you help me? I mean, and especially as educators, because we're supposed to know the answers, right? And because the kids always go, well, Mr. Bradley, what's the answer? And whenever they were in your classroom, but you know, now we've got these administrators sitting in this room that are willing to look at each other and go, I don't really know what the answer is, can you help me? And it's very refreshing to see that. And also, I mean, while everybody doing a great job, I have to point out too, I mean, Ms. Drury and Ms. Hanloser, I mean, both of you all walked into a hornet's nest, I'll just put it simply like that. And the culture change just in the 3.5 months, 4 months of instruction, plus the time that you all spent, you know, before classes start, I mean, that's tremendous. And while maybe the test scores aren't where, the assessment scores aren't where you want them, those are going to come. It's going to come for New Haven as well. It's going to come for any of the schools that you just don't, Ms. Morrison, it's going to come for Bloomfield. You know, I know you're not happy either, but there were challenges that, you know, you walked into and that you grabbed hold of as well. So it's very heartening to see such a strong, like you said, one of the strongest group of administrative team across the district. And I get to see a lot of districts in central Kentucky, and I think we've got one of the best ones.
And I hope all of you all, I hope, because as a board member, and I know all of us can say this, each presentation there was something that stood out. And I know you all collaborate together, and I'm glad you all see that other schools, what you found important on one school, you're taking it to your school. Or you're seeing, or at least this group, to me, you all don't mind sharing. We've had some that really didn't like to share. And this group is different because you all don't mind to share. Just like Tanya, I heard you say Wes helped you, and other elementaries, you help each other, and that's the way it should be. This thinking that you're the only one in the whole you're not by yourself, because we have 3 or 4 schools that need help. I mean, you know, are just now getting back on their feet. And if you can go from there and say, I do need help, then that's to me, that's 2/3 of the battle, is to get the help. And because we're only helping the kids. You know, I don't care, I care about you all, don't get me wrong. But the kids is what counts here. It's not us, it's you all and the kids, and those kids deserve it. We deserve to give Nelson County students the best education we can give them. And being funds are going to be restricted, I know that, you know that from just listening to our governor. And, we just have to pull it, we have to make it work, we have to pull it together and make it work. And I do appreciate all you all help, believe me, I appreciate it.
We're
And I
going to
thank
see
you.
some positive changes. Go visit New Haven to see what they're,
Oh, I have.
there's so much love in that building. Go visit Foster Heights, Old Kentucky Home, every one of you. There's so much love, and they love their students. They don't feel nothing
Yeah.
but pure love.
I know it when I walk in
It's
those
great to see
buildings.
those buildings now thriving
Yes.
and positive energy and kids learning. I love to see that. People are respectful and
Yes.
love that. So thank you all.
Just keep up the good work.
And we also need to thank Ms. Williams and Ms. Brown for their
Yes.
leadership in this process also. So
Thank
we've
you,
kind of
thank
all
you.
been together.
There's a quiet force behind the scenes. aren't there?
Yes.
Sometimes, what was that, sometimes quietness.
If it's a UK ball game day, it's not.
That's right.